is Brenna Wooten, and I chose to do my research and my presentation on how the Marvel franchise became so successful and how they continue to cultivate such an engaged audience even today. So to start off, I'm going to talk about the origins of the MCU. The Marvel Cinematic Universe had to start off by taking a risk. They had already sold the rights to some of their most popular characters like Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, and X-Men. So that avenue of capitalizing on their popularity was close to them, at least in regards to making movies. They had to take their chances with some of their less well-known characters at the time, like Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. Marvel decided to make the movies one at a time instead of jumping straight into the Avengers as a cash grab. Benjamin Elias from CG Life summed it up perfectly when he said, "It would have been easy for Marvel to throw all of their remaining characters into the Avengers and make a quick buck. Instead, Marvel opted to gradually build the profile of individual heroes while teasing plot lines and pictures to come." We can kind of see DC doing exactly the wrong thing with their movie, Suicide Squad. They essentially threw together a bunch of new characters in a 2-hour movie for the first time, which left audiences disconnected and uninvested. Elias warns that media companies need to nurture their audiences before they push for the big sale. As soon as Marvel came out with the huge success that The Avengers was, they were able to eliminate a lot of their risk. Because their movies had been relatively good every time, their fan base knew that they would be able to rely on them to continue producing good movies. Another big risk reducer for them was that they were able to create sequels for their more successful movies. This guaranteed that they would have a returning audience, and these audiences would be returning for their favorite characters. And returning for reoccurring characters is another risk reducer in and of itself. So these characters would not only be in sequels, but they would be in movies that they wouldn't traditionally be in, kind of like the Spider-Man Homecoming. They threw Iron Man in there with him. Russ Burlingame from the website Comic Book said, "The emotional investment in characters is symbiotic with the shared universe. That connection feeds the shared universe, making everything feel more connected, while at the same time only being truly possible because of the shared universe." The MCU likes to cater to niche audiences for movie every now and then in order to draw in new fans. Two prime examples of this are Black Panther, which was meant to give representation to the Black community, and Captain Marvel, which was meant to empower women. And Marvel generates these movies for a very specific reason. The MCU's large fan base will draw attention to the movies that they need, and then that in turn will draw in these niche audiences. If the niche audience's satisfaction is met by these movies that were created with them in mind, it is likely that they will move on to other Marvel movies and then maybe even become part of the larger Marvel fan base. Now that Marvel has amassed such a large fan base, they need to keep a hold of it. They do this by having regular releases of movies, like at least 1 or 2 movies every year with a couple of TV shows thrown into the mix. They introduce new characters regularly to become invested in, and they build off of the old ones that they already have. And they have their talent, or the actors, engage with fans and do other promotional material to generate hype for the movies. And this would be things like talk shows, attending conventions, interacting on social media, which I actually did see happen first time when Civil War came out for the first time. They launched a Twitter campaign where people would vote Team Cap or Team Iron Man, and one of my high school friends got a personalized response from Sebastian Stan. I'm kind of reprimanding her for her choice. But all of these things keep the MCU's audiences loyal, and they keep them returning for more content. So the bottom line is essentially that Marvel understands their audience, and they know how they operate. And their continuous use of this method to keep their audiences will ensure their success for years to come.